Hello, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to the AfterBuzz TV show for House of Cards Season 4, Chapters 49 and 50. Join us as we discuss the nomination of Frank and Claire Underwood and predictions and much more.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Wow, here we are, Chapters 49 and 50. Hello, AfterBuzzers. I'm Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Shaka Strong.
I'm Michael Clous. You can follow me on Instagram at TheOnlyMC, on Twitter at Michael Clous TV. I apologize for my voice this evening. I lost it 2 days ago, had nothing. Pounded a lot of garlic in the past couple days. This is what we have.
Be glad that you're not sitting next to him, just saying. Hey guys, I'm Maria Cavassuto. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Maria Cavassuto and on Snapchat at MGCVSST.
And I am Kevin Ellis. You can find me on Twitter at @TheKevinEllis or on Instagram at KevinEllis25.
Can you smell the garlic?
A little bit, yeah. I was actually gonna, so the thing is, I know that you pounded garlic, so I was gonna ask. So I was like, it's here.
Someone said that it works, and I'll be honest, it does work.
It definitely does work, but much to the dismay of your co-host.
Sorry about that, guys.
Oh my god. Well, let's get into it. What a crazy 2 episodes that we had. I guess the big thing, Claire's mom dies. And so there was so much texture in that scene. What did you guys think about?
I thought it was the most emotional scene that I've seen in House of Cards to date. I mean, it was very just silent, no music, very little dialogue, and it was very emotional.
Yeah, her decision, I mean, to help her out with that and whatnot is just so, yeah, I agree with you. It's just very, very emotional. I didn't even, I know that's legal in some states.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't really, yeah.
You could tell. I mean, it took a toll on Claire, and that's something that we haven't really seen from Claire, is that emotional attachment to her mother. And I feel like it was necessary because we needed some closure ourselves, because we grew attached to the
And you saw
character.
the selflessness of her mother in that as well, of doing one more thing for her daughter.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet.
And I don't know, for the first time for me, I felt like I got the relationship. And for me, it came down to one line where she talks about the father and, oh, my daddy never really laughed. He never was a jokester. She says, well, there were certain things he did with me. And I got the feeling that their relationship was almost built on resentment, that the father loved Claire so much and that the mother kind of resented how much he loved his daughter. And, so she was letting Claire know, well, there were certain things that I did have of it. Even though you had everything, there were certain things that were mine, too. What do you guys think about that?
It's twisted. I mean, I don't think any mother should feel like that about her child, but I can understand it because they seem like a very solitary just people, just both Claire and her mother. So, yeah, it was a little twisted for me, but it made sense.
Yeah, it was. I think you articulated it well. It was just one of those odd things where you see a person who is clearly living their adult years with just this kind of resentment towards her own daughter, and that's such an unhealthy feeling, and that could very well be what caused her own disease. I mean, it's just that internal negativity that she had built up, and it was just so pent up that it just created this cancer.
But it was kind of nice to see that there was some love, some warmth. She had the baby teeth.
Yeah, that was, I loved that, just because it's like, even through all this, commotion, all this resentment, all these years that have gone by, it's like, that kind of unstated love between a mom, well, or at least a mother to her daughter is there and was there. And I like that with Tom, she was humanized a little bit, because we saw her just be, and I don't think it's necessarily her fault. I feel like it's just the dynamic between her and Claire that doesn't make her feel superhuman or accessible, and Tom just really brought that out, and I loved that scene. I don't know how you guys felt, but I loved it.
I love the line too where when Claire's mom is talking with Claire, it says that she was jealous of her belief that she could make the sun rise.
Yeah, that
she
was
would
great.
Just sit there, and it is that innocence that you don't see a little bit, but also that belief that Claire has always had of anything is possible.
And maybe she got that from the father. The father loved her so much, he gave her that belief, and the mom felt she never had that from him. But I thought it was really interesting, a nice warm moment in between there, And I guess it was a little, she almost seems to approve of Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, immediately.
And so it kind of...
Do you guys not approve of Tom? I approve of Tom.
Well,
I don't approve of Tom in that situation. I mean, if you're asking if I approve of infidelity,
we'll talk about
sorry.
we'll talk about that later. But,
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
no, I really, of course she approves of Tom. Frank is a cold block of ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Tom is a warm, fuzzy slipper.
And I thought, I thought it was interesting, and I guess we got to see how far that relationship ends up going. Because you see he's making her laugh, and they talk about it, and eventually, I guess he's making Claire laugh and more. And so,
Because could you ever see Frank Underwood put on a gypsy headdress and pretend to be a fortune teller? Could you ever
that
see
was so hilarious. I liked it.
yeah, it was good moments of levity for us too.
Yeah.
And I think you get the sense, and this kind of goes to Claire's speech now. So we kind of move to the Claire getting the nomination. When we talk about how well Yates knew her to write that kind of speech, didn't that play a role?
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely just a realization of what he knows about them as a couple and like what their relationship means, how they guide each other, what types of elements keep their relationship going, and like he was genuine in everything that he said in that speech.
Yeah, that's what I loved about the speech, is that there weren't any lies. It was just the way it was said. Did you feel that?
I think, I mean, he's a writer, so writers, one of their best attributes is that they can read people and they're very eloquent, and that certainly showed in that speech.
Claire and Frank love each other.
Yeah.
They might not be in love with one another, but they have a love for one another that goes. They are family, just as just as he had written in the speech. They are two people who are going to be in each other's lives till death do them part, and it's it's a team that we've seen grow and struggle, but they always come out.
Yeah.
At the other end.
And I love that they let us know that they're going to kind of stay together, in the sense where she goes, well, I do love Frank. I just felt uncomfortable saying it in front of you, when she's talking to Yates. So you know that she does love Frank, and that's like where her heart is. But
yeah, it's just like what kind of love? I mean, they really it almost seemed really stressing these two episodes more of a teamwork than
that's the same thing I was gonna say.
relationship.
It's not. I don't think it's as much of like a love for Frank, but for a love of like what that union represents
What
for
they
them.
are to each
and
other,
what they mean to each other, what they are to each other, and the possibilities that are afforded to them by this union. I think that's where the love really stands.
because Claire almost wavered. Where she was like, maybe Durant should go ahead and take this nomination, and Frank says, no. I'm gonna pull through. And we saw kind of Frank the thug a little bit. What did you guys think of him and Durant?
Oh my God! I mean, that
man.
scene was brilliant.
Yeah.
We saw somebody who was threatening things that we knew the truth about, and it was just like he's telling the truth, but he's doing it in such a fashion that was so cunning and just devilish. I mean, I couldn't believe what he was saying.
Yeah.
It's like sadistic in a
my
way,
God.
and so torturous. But it's also like let's say he hadn't broken. What does she do with that information? There's nothing. I personally think that there's
No.
nothing she can
What?
do with that information.
No.
No.
Well, she could maybe run to Hammersmith if she figures out, who's put together some dots.
It was like a game of chicken, and she came at it first, and then he did not back down,
Yeah.
and eventually she did. And I mean, it shows throughout that entire episode, even with the very beginning when he's getting dressed, and you see him the cufflinks, and he says "F you." He had the cufflinks that he's had, and he puts them on, and it kind of is sets the tone for the whole episode that he just doesn't care.
Yeah,
And it was such a weird, because I kept thinking to myself, how is he going to get her to back down? Because she has all kind of this
Yes.
leverage, all the point. And it just turned out to like legitimately scare her into thinking he might just kill you. Because
Yeah.
I
regardless,
totally felt that too, especially with the what was
The
it, that
letter
letter
opener?
opener? I was like,
because even if he's lying, it still felt, if you're in that moment in that room, it's really creepy. He's doing this, and the president of the United States is like making this really creepy joke.
it's
Because-
creepy, but if I were like Durant, I would have been like, is this? It would have been like such a weird moment.
Yeah.
But she's seen since Walker, so she knows what he's capable of, even if she doesn't think it's that.
Yeah.
She knows what he is capable of and how he has manipulated the situation to get to where he is.
I think she believes him, though.
Yeah.
I think
true.
part of her believes that he did those things.
He kind of,
absolutely.
He kind of threatens her, like right after, once he breaks and whatnot, and he kind of threatens her in a way. So of course she does.
And you see her just kind of the wheel spinning when she's like, "Is he serious right now?" And I felt like she believed it.
Like for anybody who knows poker, it's like Kathy was going in with pocket kings, and Frank is sitting there with like 7 deuce offsuit, but he's got the skill, he's got the ability to bluff. That he's going to win the hand anyway.
Yeah, the next that came out were 7-2-2. He's got the whole house.
Exactly.
I mean, I wonder if it's going to continue to go like that, but everything's breaking his way. And so, he finally gets the nomination. These crazy rules that, have gone back and forth about the delegate math. I'm still unsure how they kind of got us to, they kind of skipped us. So, they skipped some key elements there, but it was a good lead up to it.
Yeah, they throw in John King and Wolf Blitzer. They make it look official, but you're kind of like, the way that we're seeing this current election go, we're just kind of shaking our heads like, okay, that's not quite how it works out.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, this is interesting. This is new.
But they did weave some interesting elements or some truthful elements too. I thought another big thing was Stamper here. What did you guys think of Doug? Because he's not really Doug anymore.
He just shows so many signs of cracking.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
absolutely.
Oh, is he gonna falter? I mean, when he's in the room, and you obviously have the open doors to the refrigerator, and you have the alcohol in there, and you look at him, and it's like, wow, he is really being tempted in a lot of ways. And even that scene between him and Seth, when Seth comes in, they almost have their own game of chicken there, and Seth wins.
Yeah.
Seth just puts him in his place.
Where did he get that backbone?
I loved that. I was like, thank God. Just because I think that, at some point somebody's got to stop Doug because he really pushes it.
Yeah.
And he it's not going to last. You can't possibly have a whole show where this person doesn't arc in any way. It can't keep going this way. So I'm glad that we saw a little bit of a push, a little bit of resistance.
Yeah, there's a part of him where he feels like he can get away with anything that he wants to. And I love the scene where Seth is answering questions from the press, and he sees Doug, goes on over, and Doug is telling him to come up to his hotel room. And Seth's like, why would I do that? Doug thinks that he can make him go up there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like at this point, I think Seth understands the dynamic here where it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to drag me in front of everybody? Probably not. That's going to look weird. You're going to kill me? Probably not. That's going to look suspicious. So guess what? Ball's in my court.
Yeah. I know all this stuff. I'm keeping it under wraps. I'm doing what I need to do. So suck it.
And we saw that moment. He goes in the bathroom and that was one of the best shots. Just the way the camera shot and everything was shaking, and it was Doug literally shaking and kind of breaking.
Yeah. Do we see Doug cracking?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, he's begun. He's
no, I mean far, actually cracking.
I don't know if he's going to crack, but I think he might leave the game. And I think that this new love interest might be that.
Is it a love interest?
I think it is.
I think totally.
I think that he kind of wants it, but I just don't
called that, by the way. I would like to say that.
And when you say cracking, I think he's cracked. Once you decide to meet with this woman, you've cracked.
Absolutely,
we're just waiting to see what's going to happen because of the crack.
Yeah.
But he's cracked.
I don't know if he's cracked. I think that he's somebody with he doesn't have confidence. I mean, he fell in love. He fell in love with a woman he was pretty much keeping captive.
Yeah.
A prostitute, mind you, who is keeping captive.
And that's what I'm wondering is, I mean, saying cracked. I mean, he is cracked, I guess, before with that, but he never officially broke. And so I'm wondering if this will be the end.
Well, he broke when he went back into his bender. When he was drinking heavily, he just totally lost all confidence in himself. That's when he cracked.
That's
and he got himself back up. I think that's when we see Doug. If he goes back to alcohol, then we know he's done. But if he's got some kind of motivation pushing him forward, he's still going to be all right.
But what if maybe he doesn't crack because of alcohol? I'm like, that would be really interesting to see if there's another way that we can break down Doug.
Well, at some point, I would think, and this is probably more for predictions, but this woman might find out what's going to happen, and she's probably got to go off too. So we'll see.
That's just too.
I don't know. That's it's a tricky relationship that
I don't see Frank allowing that. I mean, Doug doesn't have all the control, and I think other people
allowing what?
Allowing Doug to pursue this woman, and if they other people kind of find out, which they will. I mean, you can't keep a relationship like that. Obviously, Frank knew about the other one,
and I'm saying, what if she finds out about the moving the list?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
so Doug has to just kill her.
Well,
it's pretty simple.
He has to.
She has more loose ends than the other one.
But speaking of people that might be killed off, Hammersmith. Hammersmith. He meets with Dunbar, and he's already started that ball rolling. So now does this mean trouble for Hammersmith? What do we think about this?
I mean, he's linking Lanigan to Underwood and all of the travel logs. He's got Dunbar in his court now, who knows how much further she can go along with this investigation. He might have to continue to do this on his own, along with the Herald corpse that he's got there.
We got the chief now,
Yeah, I mean, he's got support. He's got resources.
He's linked in.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's linked in.
We'll see how many. We'll see how many connections he's got on his profile.
But I think he's too linked in to get killed. Plus, I mean, two are already dead. So I think if you just keep down this same path, it's almost too predictable.
I don't know. I just don't. I mean, my assumption is if Frank is to retain the presidency and keep all outward appearances of everything being fine, Hammersmith's got to go.
Well, Frank. Well, what we're kind of seeing here is that Frank is losing in his end game by bringing in Claire and to get the nomination in the presidency again. He's losing all of his lieutenants. He's lost Meacham. He's now lost Kathy Durant, who was one of his loyal political allies within his White House. And now you have Doug, who, as you guys are pointing out, is slipping a little bit. So if he loses Doug, he doesn't really have anybody but Claire, and that's dangerous.
He's got Yates now.
Yeah,
he's got Yates, but is Yates going to do what's necessary to keep the Underwoods ahead of Conway? Like, go to the next step, like all the others have done. Impeach a president, kill people. I mean, these are the things that they've been able to get away with. They can't get away with that stuff anymore if they lose all of their allies.
Well, with the way Yates writes, and he's very good at using the truth to go his own way. Mm-hmm. So I think he's got a very interesting way about getting the things he wants. So it might be going far for him, but I don't think it's going to be the same that we see a Doug Stamper,
Yeah, and I even look at Seth and Leanne. I think they're actually. I was very impressed with both of them, and they want to win. They know it behooves them to win, and it helps their careers to win. So the fact that what they're doing and kind of standing together behind this campaign, I was actually very impressed with in these past 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see where that goes. But because Leanne has been sort of relegated to, she's not playing such a big role anymore, and I actually love her character, so I'm kind of waiting for her character to have some teeth.
Me too. Yeah. I think we'll see something in the next 2 episodes.
Well, you've got her relationship with McAllen, who's heading up the NSA investigation and whatnot, which we get into a little bit more. Was that at the end of episode chapter 49, where he actually where he's on top of where Frank goes back to where he met with Petrov in the little corridor? Yeah. I mean, brilliant.
Oh,
I love the lighting.
That. Oh, that
my
was
God,
so great.
Great shot. They always make it so intimidating to meet the president.
Is in his quarters.
It's brilliant. But we got to get to Freddy.
Yeah, and that was the next thing.
Oh, man.
So, all aspects of Freddy. I saw that came out of nowhere for me, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what do you guys think? Where's this anger and resentment coming from? Is this indicative of who Frank is as a person?
Well,
I think he says it perfectly. He's like, yeah, come over. Like, we're not
terrible.
friends. Because he's like, come over, you cook some ribs for us. And that's where I was like, oh, come on, Frank. Like, seriously, at least you could have been like, come over, you cook some ribs for us, and then we all share it. He didn't even add the sharing part. It was like, you come do your service for me, and then you leave. And it's like, that's such a slap in the face. It's like, that is how you see me. So you know what? No, I don't want to be part of this. That to me, like, it was weird, but at the same time, as soon as Frank said that, I'm like, that's not going to go well. That is not going to go well at all, because he finally has some sort of like freedom, and it's like Frank trying to give him a job there and like make him stay there and blah blah, and I'm like, no, you can't do this to people. And I think Frankie yeah, sorry, whatever. Frank was Freddy. Sorry, there we go. I was like, wait, it sounds like that. Freddy was one of the few people to actually stand up to Frank without getting killed, or knocked off, and actually maybe succeeding. So I thought that was such a cool and powerful scene.
That's because Freddy ain't no snitch.
No, he ain't no snitch. Which that was so good.
Yeah,
loved it.
I mean, we left off. Was it season 3? I think is when Freddy and Frank had their falling out because Frank's past or Freddy's past came into the light, and because of political reasons, Frank couldn't defend Freddy. He had to push him out, and Freddy since then, he's always felt put down since then by Frank. Yeah. It's like that. It's not a friendship. And Frank is delusional because he doesn't have friends. He doesn't know what it means to be a friend.
The worst part that angered me, he's like, whoa, what are you talking about? I was like, you can't be that stupid. Like, for Frank. Because he was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm like, are you kidding? Like, please analyze your situation.
Well, I think he overestimates the power of the White House. Because he thinks, I offered you a job in the White House. That should be the number one thing on your list.
More
like,
money,
oh my God.
more, you know,
and I'm
better
working for
hours.
the President of the United States. It's a big honor, right?
But you know, also what? There's kind of like a race thing that comes into play here too, and the same kind of issue of like, oh, I'm the white president and you are the African American help. You know what I mean? And I was like, God, there's so much tension in that, and I feel like I'm so effing glad that Freddy was like, take your fucking apron. And like, oh, sorry, well, kind of take your apron, whatever. I actually thought, this is random, but like, I actually thought he had a gun on him for some reason when he turned around because
there was a small
like,
thing that I was like,
I was like,
no.
wait, another shot. But no, I was like, you go, Freddy. You show him.
Yeah, that was a stand-up moment.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that he didn't talk to Hammersmith?
No, you know, for some reason, I thought that was going to happen. I don't know. The minute he said, let's go talk where it's private, I was like, he's going to beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
I just knew it.
The second they were in the alley, I'm like, I know what's coming. But
Well,
man,
it just shows how loyal. Well, not loyal, I guess, but how morally correct.
He had his own ethos, and he followed it. And it was almost a juxtaposition
he doesn't want to
with
take
Frank,
sides.
Yeah, with Frank, who doesn't have an ethos at all.
Yeah.
And so you see that, and it's just interesting to me because Freddy really kind of was set up as one of Frank's longtime friends. So you start to really wonder, what friends does Frank have?
Yeah.
And that's got to come back to bite him.
And then same thing, we lost Meacham, and it's another kind of like ally friend, pretty much, that he had.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's absolutely alone.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I think like the relationship with Claire is really in a good, quote unquote, good place, because what else you got?
Yeah.
What else you got?
yeah, it's him and Claire and Yates. That's it.
So
Yeah.
what did you
It's a
guys
nice,
think?
happy
Yeah, well,
family.
what did you think about that permission? And
Yeah.
Boy,
I mean, you just can't approve of it. It's one of the, I don't know. Can anybody approve of that?
what do you mean?
I mean, well,
If
I
you're
guess
or from the outside looking in.
Both?
Here's my thing. I don't approve, obviously, of infidelity at all, but that's not infidelity. It's just not. She has. It's in like an open. They're
pass.
both okay with it.
Hall pass?
No, it's not. It's way more than a hall pass. A hall pass is simply sexual. There's much
there's
more
an
sexual stuff
emotional-
going
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
it's a mutual understanding that they've built and trust throughout their entire relationship. Like they knew the score. They know. Claire knows that Frank has interest in men. Frank understands that Claire has interest in youthful. Interesting, a little bit more dangerous men.
Do you think you have a chance, Kev?
I mean, if I was,
Youthful days.
zip me into the episode and we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and he clearly states it. I think Frank rationalized it perfectly. He's like, he can, I can't give you everything. He can give you things that I can't give you. And it's kind of that position where, like, they're in this together, not because of, like I said before, love for each other, because it's like, oh my God, we've been married forever. Like, we're just such a good couple. No, it's because of totally different reasons. So then really doesn't matter.
But is it the ultimate love? Because
Oh, is
remember, they thought it wouldn't be all right. So like Claire was gonna let Yates walk away, and Yates walked away because they thought it would be wrong.
Right, but then she could have been like, look, I don't feel comfortable with that, so we're just going to let it go here. But she takes it.
There's two main things that I came out from this. Two big questions. One, by doing this, is Frank again putting the election over his relationship with Claire, and kind of like putting this as like, oh yeah, you have this because now we're back together, we're on the same team, and he still cares about the election the most over any relationship. The second one, there's no way that this lasts. There's no way you can do this for 4 years. And Yates, what is Yates? It's always going to be secret. So there's no point.
So to piggyback on that, no, I don't think it can last forever.
Yeah.
And I actually think that in Frank's kind of twisted mind, it's leverage.
Oh, I don't know. I got the sense that this was the actual most the selfless Frank has been.
I mean, it can be, absolutely. But I
yeah.
feel like if you really wanted to twist those tables around, you could flip that up.
I think the death, almost death, really affected him. And because they let the relationship go because they thought we can't do this, and he calls Yates back in and says no. Like I could tell the change in her voice. I recognize that you are good for Claire. and he
Yeah,
brings
but
him back in.
good for Claire means good for him.
Yeah.
A happy
Right.
Claire is.
But that's like, why else would he do
Happy
that?
wife, happy life.
I don't
Remember-
think it's selfless. I think it's like it's happy life, happy wife, happy
But
life.
Claire
Yeah,
was happy. Remember, she comes back. She's back on Team Frank.
but
She doesn't care.
But she will
she-
be 100% more happy or happier, sorry, with a Tom Yates loving.
But remember, they don't even know. They don't know that Frank knows.
What?
I love him.
Well, it was happy when Tom Yates is loving.
Loving.
But yeah, I feel like they don't know that he even knows about their liaison. So she comes back just happy and has let him go. So I feel like Frank really saw something and he reached out and he wanted to correct it because he knew that was the only thing he could do to make Claire happy at this point. He knows he doesn't have much to offer that's going to make her genuinely happy in that way.
I think that's giving him too much credit. I think that's like I'm just
I think it's a love story. That's right.
So do
totally
you see
not.
it lasting?
I do. I do. I think Yates is
Really?
going to be the reason they're able to stay in the White House. I think it'll come down to him. And even the way Yates doesn't want to say anything bad about Frank if he leaves a trail because it would hurt Claire too much.
Yeah.
You see two men so concerned with her well-being that they're willing to kind of be positive towards each other for it as
So
well.
now I'm going to ask you because you have it very set up in this way, which totally does make sense, right? But now it's too good. It's too much love for Claire. It's too much positiveness. Where's it all going to go wrong?
I don't.
well,
I don't know if it's
we
going.
got so many
Okay,
actors.
I do not believe that it's going to be Frank that ends it. If anybody ends it, it's going to be Claire again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. I see her maybe even falling for Frank in a true love sort of
someone
way
new.
again. Or somebody new.
Well, we have another season coming,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
We got one more season, but I don't know if we have enough time to actually build that kind of
I know.
that kind of
That's
Well,
way in the
we
future.
did have some serious world issues in these episodes. So we have Frank versus Aiko, and Conway kind of trying to take credit, and Frank also trying to put that aside. What do you guys think about that battle? Because Frank is going hard on Aiko right now.
Yeah, and Conway even preventing him a little bit, much to the dissatisfaction of General Brockhart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we see he was disillusioned on all fronts.
Yeah, he is learning the game of politics even more, I think, than what he had hoped.
Yeah.
well, especially when you threaten to put troops into the battlefield. I mean, Brockhart is just kind of like, are you kidding me? Like you would even consider something like this? And you know, if Conway feels like he's got leverage on Frank, he's going to let Frank do whatever if it benefits him. Yeah, I don't know. Frank's got he's got more leverage because he's got the presidency. He can go out and he can go into a total war type aspect, just like Catherine had suggested. But and he's putting troops into the fray.
I'm almost surprised we didn't see more media pressure by Frank of talking like when the House wouldn't pass the ability for them to go in the way he wanted, that we didn't see more of like a blame game between the Republicans and the Democrats there. You saw it behind the scenes of him talking to Conway, but you didn't see the public pressure to try to sway it back.
Yeah, I think that'll be something they have to. There's so much they cover in each episode.
Yeah.
But they're good at bridging things together too. So hopefully they kind of bring that, because the Aiko thing has been like, for me, it's been a roller coaster. This is a very serious issue, and then sometimes it's kind of really in the background. Other times it kind of pops back up. So
And then you kind of forget about it too. So you're like, where were we with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how they wrap it up. I'm excited to get to the next two episodes we have. Well, we got to talk a little bit about Remy, because Remy's taking an extra active role. He thinks he's being somewhat, cool. I mean, why even play the drinking game? Just tell him what he needs to know.
Yeah, I'm like, but
Maybe he thought he was being recorded. But what do you guys think about Remy? Because this is obviously going to continue with him.
I think there was some talk in there about Jackie Sharp, and obviously in the beginning of her getting the delegates, there's got to be something that comes up with them of bringing that public. I mean, that's the card that they have on both Jackie Sharp and Remy, is that relationship. And I was even shocked, I hope this is not leading too far, of course, but talking about Jackie, giving her delegates to Durant and saying, oh, she's going to make that call. And I'm surprised there wasn't more pressure on her there, but I see that coming about. I mean, just looking at Remy, and he wants to make it seem like he has nothing to lose, but he does.
Yeah. So, are we ready for predictions?
Why not? I mean, we're getting into it anyway. Predictions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, predictions it is.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
I will say real quick also, though, talking about Hammerschmidt, when he has that meeting with the editor, is that he says, quote, he's not a killer in talking about Frank.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll be surprised, and this kind of leads into our prediction.
Oh,
I don't think he realizes how far it goes.
Oh yeah, and that to me was, Hammersmith's gonna die. Yeah, because perfect setup. Oh, well, he's a crook, but he's not a killer.
He's not a killer.
So I'll make that my prediction. Hammersmith's gonna be gone.
Okay. How soon do you think? Do you think we'd see it this season?
Oh yeah.
In the next 2 episodes?
2 episodes.
Yeah, I think. Well,
How do we think that? Okay.
his
We only
death
got
will
2
be-
more,
his
yeah,
death
how's it
will
gonna
be-
end?
He'll either die or it'll be impending. But yes.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I feel that he doesn't, unless it's going to be Doug, how's Frank going to take him out?
Oh, I don't know if Frank will do it himself, but Frank or someone on his behalf will kill Hammersmith.
I know, I'm just thinking like, okay, who would kill Hammersmith? I don't know. Doug's definitely, he can do it. He's still the chief of staff of the United States.
And it also depends on how far I'm not sure how much time's going to jump in the next 2 episodes. And I'm assuming there'll be a significant amount of time for Hammersmith to die.
Okay.
But yeah.
Are we all in agreement that the election is not going to happen in the next 2 episodes? Right?
I don't know, because sometimes they like to
the
wrap
last-
things up to some degree.
I feel like it would be weird if all of a sudden it's like election and it's like, let's say, Claire and Frank. Yeah. And that's it. Like then we go all over this in the next season.
But-
I feel like
So we had the meeting. We had the meeting between it was McAllen and Frank and Doug. In the bowels of the White House, talking about
love that.
talking about how it's beyond marriage is the theme of what they've cracked now.
And they're
it's
gonna
that theme
control
that they're going.
those,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're going to control the message now. They have power over the Conways finally in their message. And so who knows? We could see like quick scenes, fast forwarding the election time, and we can get to the general election hopefully.
I think we'll get to the general
I would
election.
think that
because
I feel like we'll get to the okay, now I thought you meant like maybe going all the way through.
I think we'll know who will win the presidency in the 2 episodes.
I have to think that that's going to be like the final shot.
Because it would-
is, like,
Really?
Claire and
I don't
Frank.
think so.
I feel like we're gonna go through all the like once you have the maybe not.
I feel
I don't
We
know.
got debates to deal with.
Well,
Yeah.
that's there's like where
There's
I
a
want to
lot
see that
left
some.
in the whole I mean, they
Yeah.
literally just decided who's
Well, that's what I
going
was
to
saying.
run.
I think we're going to
but-
see everything else that comes after once you decide a candidate.
Because they got to the VP nom pretty quickly in that whole
did?
process. And I'm just thinking
Impeachment was quick.
I'm thinking to myself, they're so good at being on point with time-wise that by the time the next season would come by, would have gone through an election, right? And so
Yes.
I feel like that would make, just from a writing standpoint, it might make that stale. Maybe they want to try to wrap it up. I don't know.
I mean, I'd
I'd love to see the election, though. It would
yeah.
kill me if I have to wait till next
I know.
year to figure it out.
I actually feel opposite. I'm like, I want to wait till next year to figure out. Because then I feel like it's a little bit more pace. I want to see more drama. I want to see more like,
We really haven't had that. We've always had a lot of closure at the end of every season.
Yeah.
We've known exactly where everything stood. Like everything that happened in that season, it was resolved by the end. It's like, okay, well,
But they do it in a way that you're so
still
excited for
cliffhangers.
next season.
Oh,
yeah,
of
and you're
course,
like, I
always.
cannot
Well,
wait
Yeah.
to see where this is gonna go. Yeah.
totally.
course.
I actually, this is random, but like in terms of predictions, I think Frank's liver is going to give out. I don't think that's going to last because he's already kind of like on a, you can't really travel that much. And sometimes livers get rejected. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes when you have an organ transplant, your stuff gets rejected. So I think that's not going to work out super well for him.
That would be the way for Claire and Yates to be together.
Oh, well, I was going to say something else, but that's a good one too.
Well, they are together.
Then Hammersmith gets killed, dies, whatever. Frank needs a new liver. Who do we go to? Hammersmith. There you go.
liver.
Wow. Wow.
I like it.
Yes. And then the other thing is that I think because I know. When I was listening to you talk about him dying, I was just like the liver. That's how we connected.
Not the healthiest liver, but all right.
No, but hey, it's just whatever's available, and then you can just keep swapping them out, every couple months. No, I'm kidding. But then I also think that like this whole liver thing, there's a reason they set it up. So again, I think Frank's liver is not going to totally function the full way. We're going to have something kind of happen. Maybe that's at the end. Maybe that's at the end. We have him like dying. But that's how Doug will come into play
So
because
excited for it too. She wants Frank to die almost.
no kidding. But then also like that's how Doug's going to get. That's how we're going to intertwine like the story of Doug and that new lady with Frank.
Yeah.
Because of the liver failure. I feel like So that's just my big prediction.
Okay.
I see. I see Doug faltering, not completely breaking, but I see him faltering, and I see a continued rise of Seth. And just of Seth. I think he is in that position. I do not think that we'll get to the general election. I just see, because where we are now is roughly about June. So that would be 5 months to cover, and 4 to 5 months to cover in about 2 episodes. And I think it's too much, because I don't think the investigation with Hammerschmidt that he's looking into, they'll be investigating that more than about 3 months.
What other cliffhanger can we leave on, though? Other than some big death?
Frank without a liver. Not death, but on the brink.
Somebody. Let's assume somebody dies. Somebody has to die in the next 2 episodes.
Somebody's got to die.
I see it ending with Frank and Claire winning the White House, Hammerschmidt dying, but him having gotten everything he knows to someone who's important enough to
Well,
Ooh,
got
I
6
like
other
that.
people
I
on
really
his
like
team.
that.
yeah, to make it count.
I like that.
And
That would be
so-
amazing,
so
because
now,
that
you know,
is going to
impeachment,
unravel.
Yeah, impeachment's
Yes.
going to be on the horizon.
On
so
the deck.
They've won, but we know it's about to really fall down.
I would love that, because
That could
then
happen.
it would prove that everything they've tried to build up with their little image and their little like, oh, I love Frank and I love this and like whatever is total bullshit. I would love that. That is a good one. I vote for that.
It's not far off. I think that we have to have some kind of resolution in this election by the end.
Yeah.
It feels like it's going to fast forward, but as I pointed
It
out,
better, I'll
like
be
the
so
impeachment
angry.
went really quick, the vice presidency rise went really quick towards the end of each season. I did not expect those things to be resolved, and they happened.
I thought this was going to end with Claire getting the VP nod. So,
Oh,
So-
I don't think that's big. I think it's big, but I think we've got more bigness to explore.
and what did you guys think about that? I know we're doing predictions, but the country's just really fine with Underwood, huh? Like, well, yeah, like no one's really said nepotism. What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I guess it was chosen by the party.
It's
but
Gas
also-
prices have, I don't know, we haven't heard anything about the gas prices. It's just mostly foreign
Yeah.
affairs
I mean, it's
at this
also
point.
because I think just everybody really liked Claire, and I think, you know, having the mother and just everything makes her seem so like, you know, likable. It's
I
like
think it's publicity.
it is.
I
It's
mean,
totally PR.
It's all in the moment. I mean, public opinion can sway.
It's
just
just
like
so.
that.
Yeah,
to
one
me,
little
it's-
thing.
It's just weird because we have Clinton and Bush, and I feel like Republicans and Democrats at one point were just like too much of the same families, even though it's
Yes.
one I like. But so now we got the same on one ticket, and no one's really saying much. So I wonder if they'll give any media blowback in the next couple episodes. But
I don't see Frank dying until next season, and that will bring. I see him dying next season.
I didn't see Frank
Ooh,
dying.
I don't think he's dying.
I see him dying next season, and Claire taking over.
I think he's going to be. Again, last week I said that I think he's going to be impeached, and that he's going to be in jail, and that Claire gets to wrangle whether or not, or she gets to decide whether or not she brings him back from his possible murder charges. Which
Yeah.
I don't know if you can really do that, even if you're, the president.
It's gonna
If
kill
you
Durant.
pardon
I
your
don't-
husband who committed murder.
I see Frank as a guy who will commit suicide before he goes down.
But see, I was thinking
He will
about
not
that
go
because it was
down
the
with the
one
ship.
thing.
So I see him dead before the end of next season.
But he
But it
always
was the
has
one
a
thing that
way
he had the
out.
disrespect for his own father for taking his own life. He had
Yeah, I
so
don't
much
see that.
Well, maybe that's
disrespect
how
that
you
I
come
think
full
that it's
circle. You know.
well, and again, yes, that's something that I've weighed is whether or not, wow, would he actually get to that breaking point?
But I'll
to
put it
really
this way:
take his own life?
if Frank dies, it will be the last season, or
Yes.
he'll have several cameos each episode as like a flashback to a ghost. But I don't think I don't see him getting rid of Kevin Spacey on that show and it continuing.
I
No, but I
agree.
think we're at least in for at least 6 seasons. Isn't it
Two
renewed
more?
for 4, 5, and 6?
I
Wasn't it
know we
renewed for
definitely
4,
got
5,
one
and 6?
more for
I know
sure.
we
I
at
don't
least
know.
I
got
think
one
I think
more.
6. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting, guys. We'll see what happens.
Indeed.
After Buzzers, we're so glad you were able to join us for House of Cards 49 and 50. Please download us on iTunes, give us 5 stars, give us your comments on Twitter and YouTube. I'm Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Shaka Strong.
You can find me on Instagram at @TheOnlyMC, on Twitter at Michael Clous TV. Hit me up.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Maria Cavassuto and on Snapchat at MGCBSST. I have a very funny cat, and I'm teaching her how to use a leash. So if you want to check that out,
It is pretty
tune in.
adorable.
It's interesting.
It's a work in progress, and
It's
I
work in
am Kevin
progress.
Ellis. You can find me on Twitter at @TheKevinEllis or on Instagram at KevinEllis25.
I don't see anything about a season 6 guarantee.
Thank you,
here
guys.
online.
Okay, well,
I'm just throwing it out there.
We'll see what happens. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m.
Finale.
Adios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.